Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us again today. We are your friendly Edmonton recruiters here once again with another episode. We are talking today about specific streams of careers in technology. For myself, I work on that IT related field. So any role that is technical or IT in nature is really what I specialize in. And then I have my colleague Lindsay here. She specializes in finance and accounting. So she's going to talk about the accountant stream and how you really progress your career in that stream, tips and tricks to make sure that you're continuing to develop and grow if that's something that you want to do. And then I will hop into talking about software development and how to grow a career in software development in Edmonton. Again, if that's something that you're wanting to pursue. So I'm going to let Lindsay kick it off talking about kind of the career stream for accountants.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah, so much. So basically, accountant, there's a couple ways to go about it. And we're going to kind of start from entry level and how you get, usually that end goal is controller, director of finance, something along those lines. So you kind of have either one or two ways off the hop right here is actually going into a public firm, doing your articling and getting your CPA that way, or going right into industry. And a lot of people think that they have to go to a public accounting firm to get their articling and get their CPA designation, but there are in fact companies who are recognized by the CPA board that can get, their letters there. Just you have to have a mentor to make sure about that if that's kind of the route you're going. But we'll kind of start with the public accounting side of things first. So usually you're gonna start off as an articling student, go through into that staff junior accountant, and then go into usually a senior accountant / manager. At that point, most of the candidates there will want to probably leave public accountancy and go into industry. Right off the hop, you actually kind of have a few options. Mostly what we're seeing from our clients who are looking for candidates in that field are for roles such as senior accountant, assistant controller, and controller. So this basically gives you kind of a fast trajectory to get to there. Rather than industry, it will take a little bit longer for you. Usually it takes about 3 to 4 years in public accountancy to go to that controller role. And then from there, you kind of want to get, again, your designation. Some people go get their MBA as well. And usually when you go get your MBA, that's usually when you want to go into the director of finance role, kind of on that really, really operational side from a high-end company. So that's definitely the route I would take. And then kind of talking from industry, you're going to start off, as that entry level, either accounts payable, accounts receivable, or that accounting assistant role. And you're just going to have to put your head down and grind and get a promotion through that way. And again, kind of going through the CPA will take a little bit longer because there is a little bit more things that you have to check off and make sure you're touching on everything, especially because you're not getting that different siloed setting in a public accountancy. You're trying to touch on every part of the business in a sole business, which can be a little bit more difficult. But it could also be some pluses. If you really like that company, you're going to be there for a long time, projected growth. Hopefully they have a great growth program for you, or you're going to be kind of jumping from a different company. I think it also just depends on what industries you are really interested in. I always tell my candidates to really narrow down the top 3 companies you want to work for, or the top 3 industries that you want to get into, and just really look forward and even look up that current person in that position, what kind of accolades they have behind their name, and what do you have to get there. And that's basically the trajectory in a nutshell for those 2 kind of different career paths in terms of an accountant.
Cool. So Lindsay, question for you. How critical is that CPA designation itself if you're wanting to grow in an accountant career?
Yeah, honestly, I would say it's almost vital nowadays. There are some companies who really won't require designation, will look at experience. But just nowadays, I mean, it's kind of number one, especially if you're going to that mid to large size company, they want to see a designation, unfortunately. So, if you're kind of in maybe the middle part of your career and you still haven't gotten it and you want to get there, then I would definitely, go back to school, take a couple years and get that designation for sure.
Cool. And then how extensive for someone in technology, maybe who doesn't know much about the CPA program, and they might want to recommend this video to one of their friends who's wanting to go down that route. What's the process with getting your CPA? Can you describe that in a nutshell?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually if you're doing your CPA, you have to get it through a company. A lot of people won't pay out of pocket for the CPA just because of how expensive it is. So mostly what will happen is you'll either sign a contract with a firm or a company. It's usually for about 3 years and then probably maybe additional year on top of that, just depending on how long you want to stay with that company. And they'll actually pay your dues for you and all of the expenses, which is great. Yeah, it's fantastic there. So that's definitely a good part of accounting. Um, yeah, that's kind of the trajectory of that for sure.
Okay. So it's a 3-year commitment, most likely for most people to get that under their belts.
Yeah, absolutely. You usually start off kind of on core one and core two, which is like your introductory levels. And then you have 4 main modules to do and then a huge exam at the end.
Okay.
Um, Little fun fact, I know you wouldn't know this, but last year for the CFE, the computer actually crashed halfway through their test. It was all across Canada at the same time. And I
Oh,
felt so bad for everyone and no one got the results until end of January of this year.
yeah.
So it was a disaster.
Stressful, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
And that leads nicely into the software development and IT side of things with computers crashing during system
exactly.
tests, right? So I'm going to chat a bit about the software development kind of career path. And really, the interesting thing about software development is you don't necessarily require a degree in order to get into it. So some companies will prefer it for sure, because you're really learning your fundamentals, or you should be at least learning your fundamentals during your degree, and really the building blocks of how to program, how to develop strong software is going to be based in these foundational building blocks, and then whatever language you do is somewhat similar in these building blocks of coding. So yeah, depending on the company, lots will not require you to have a degree, but they will absolutely require you to have some examples of your work. So this is the number one recommendation I have for any software developer who is right now in Edmonton, potentially looking down the road for growth and career opportunities. Start working on a portfolio now. Do not wait until you're suddenly, laid off. It's very important to have it going beforehand. So set up your own GitHub account if you don't have it already. Make it publicly accessible so that people can actually look you up and look up your coding and look up examples of your work. People want to see that you are passionate about coding, that you're going to put some work in outside of your day-to-day to continue to improve and evolve. So that's my number one tip for anyone in software development, whether you're brand new, or you're kind of in the middle or high level of your career. So after school, or once you've done enough training that you feel confident yourself in your skills, you start in a junior developer position. From there, you're likely to progress into more of that intermediate development, followed by a senior developer. And typically, you tend to stay within a certain realm of programming language during that time. So you might be someone who's a .NET developer. You probably focus on more of the Microsoft stack of technologies. You might be someone who works primarily in open source frameworks, but typically you do tend to stay within either one or the other. There's not a whole lot of jumping about that happens. So that's something to kind of decide at the beginning, is if you're wanting to pursue more of an open source, more cutting edge technologies, or if you want to go with something that's robust and that works really, really well, which is more of the Microsoft stack. So once you progress to that senior software developer, typically nowadays we're seeing a lot of companies that work within something called the agile methodology. So what that means is a specific type of programming is a way of running a project essentially from beginning to end. So in this, there's a Scrum program, and there's Kanban, which is a different type of methodology within Agile. And a lot of people will spend a lot of time in Scrum. It's definitely the most common in Edmonton. And so what you can do is you can pursue a Scrum Master or a Scrum Product Owner certification. They're really accessible online. And from there, you can develop your career into that Product Owner position or a Scrum Master position. So the Scrum Master is there to help lead and coach a team of developers and testers and all the people involved in developing a new piece of software. And the product owner is there to really think about the product itself. So whatever you're developing, Think about what the roadmap is for that product, how to market that product even, what are the critical things that it needs to do, what needs to be improved. Those are the responsibilities of the product owner. So you can do either one of those things as a software developer. And obviously you can do these things without being a software developer first. It's just quite common to go into one of those two areas. The other common area is working in a business analyst role. So being that liaison between your technical teams, your software developers or testers, and the business. So if you're someone who is really excited about business concepts and business systems and really loves to communicate and help to build efficiencies in systems, that might be a route for you to pursue, that business analyst role where you're really helpful to both the business and the technology teams to ensure that the product is actually meeting the needs of the business. So that is an awesome kind of path to go down as well. So senior software developer, you can go business analyst, you can go scrum master, you can go, or project manager even, and you can go for more of a product owner role. So those are kind of the ways that you can specialize as you go up. Obviously from there, you can go into more of a CIO, VP of technology position if that's something you want to pursue. There's not really an obvious way to get there in technology, and it's not quite as black and white as it is in accounting and finance. There's not really a specific degree or diploma or certification to do to get into those areas, but it's really about progressing your experience forward. If that's something you want to just be as experienced in the different areas that you would be supervising. So you really want to take those opportunities to learn more, do courses on Udemy or on the LinkedIn Learning platform. You can really do a lot with software development outside of the traditional kind of classroom setting. So I always recommend you should always be updating your skills, always be learning more, always staying on top of the newest technologies that are being released. And from there, as long as you're someone who wants to grow into a VP of IT seat or a CIO seat, you'll probably be able to get there if you continue to progress in your career from the very, very beginning. So it's important not to stay stagnant in software development. And that is a summary of software development.
That's awesome. I have a couple of questions. So is it a HubSpot? You said the website was called?
So the website is called GitHub.
GitHub, sorry, yes. Is that free for anybody or, oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Facebook, well, maybe not the Facebook. It's like almost a social media platform as well. So there's Slack, which is a social media platform as well, specifically that a lot of technology folk use. But yeah, GitHub is like a place for you to store all your code that people can access so that they can see examples of your work.
Interesting. That's awesome. And then for the mastery program after kind of the developer, how long does that usually take?
So a Scrum Master certification is, it's online. There's a couple of different platforms that offer it, but you can also do courses, I think, in universities now as well, but there's definitely two primary ones online. My understanding is that if you're taking your time about it and you're really putting in the work to develop and learn it, people normally do it within a 6-month period. It's not hugely extensive. It depends on how much you have going on outside of just that, obviously. But yeah, I think for the most part, people take between 3 and 6 months to complete that.
Awesome. Those are my only 2 questions for you.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we are here as a resource if any of you have questions. In fact, we would love it if you had questions. Send them our direction. We are going to be going into different career trajectories in our next video as well. But we love questions. We're here to really help the Edmonton industry, to help all of you who are looking for new roles or even currently in a hiring position and you want to know what you can be doing to help your team to develop as well. So we're definitely here for that. We would love your perspective and your feedback. And we are definitely really grateful for all of the interest that we've been garnering for this particular initiative. We're excited to keep doing these videos, and check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of the videos are uploaded on there, and they will be continuing to be updated every week for the next little while. So thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, guys.